Hi guys, my name's Padrid. I own this space. It's a training studio in Hyde Park. I'm so thrilled to be able to do this with you, and I'm even more thrilled that you are a part of the Comer Children's 5K. So we're gonna just do a little 30-minute kind of prep workout that you can do a couple times during the week if you want. You can do this before your race if you want. You can use this after the race. Lots of good moves, great for mobility, stability, a little bit of strength, and you won't need any equipment. All right, so we're just gonna start. You can use a mat or not. We're gonna put our feet just a little bit wider than hips width apart, maybe even a little wider than a little wider. I want you to lace up your fingers, and we're just gonna reach down, shake the head out, and then you're gonna bend the elbows on the way up, and you're gonna reach all the way up to the ceiling. I'm gonna do about 3 of them. I always like to shake my hands out after each one. Lace up those fingers, press straight down. We never get a lot of flexion through our fingers these days because much of what we're doing involves typing on a computer or being on our cell phone, which requires this as opposed to the opposite, which is why I kind of like to lace up the fingers and push. Just a little bit of extension through those lower knuckles would be good for our hands. And then up we go. All right, then I like to do what's called a swimmer flap. You're basically hugging your body in sort of a dynamic fashion. Just over and over again. I like to do roughly 20, but you can do 10, 15. Just get your arms moving a little bit. And then a third one I like to do is just a big circle. And you want to kind of find a track in your shoulders that does not cause pain. You never ever want to push through pain. Discomfort's okay, but pain is not, ever. At least for these purposes. If there's crunching, it's okay, as long as there's no pain that accompanies it. All right, shake out those hands. All right, so we're gonna do Spider-Man stretch. Some people call it Spidey stretch, whatever you wanna call it. We're gonna take our left foot or your right, whichever one you like, but for these purposes, I'm gonna start with my left. I'm gonna drop my right way far back, and then both my hands are gonna kind of come in between, or I guess on the inside of that left foot. If you need to prop yourself up onto something with your hands, a yoga block is great. You can get like a little box, something so that you're here, so you don't have to be so low, that's okay. But we're gonna twist towards the inside, up all the way to the ceiling. We're gonna come back down. Then I'm gonna lean into my leg for some balance, and I'm gonna twist up toward the ceiling with the other arm. I'm gonna do 3 per side. It's always helpful to find a focal point up at the ceiling. Helps you with balance. Good. And then I always stand up in between, shake out a little bit, and then we'll switch sides. So we got right foot forward, left leg back. Hands are on the inside of that right foot, and we're gonna twist up over the right knee towards the ceiling. And we come on back down, press the body against the inside of that right leg, and reach up. I have my focal point right up there. Hands come back down again. Good, and we're gonna do one more each side. All right, shake them out a little bit. So another stretch I like to do before I run or in the middle of my workout even, it's a more of an active stretch, so like we've been doing. So we're gonna do a walkout. Essentially, you're just walking your hands out in front, so you end up in a push-up position. And then from here, you're gonna walk yourself back. And the idea is that not only are you trying to keep your wrists underneath your shoulders the whole time, but you also are trying to get a good hamstring stretch in. So the straighter you can keep your legs, the better. We're gonna do 5 of them. First 2 we're gonna take nice and easy. Wrists kind of stay right underneath my shoulders. Then I stand up. I want you to kind of pick up your pace a little bit if you can. If there's pain in the shoulders at all, sometimes decreasing the step length of your hands, especially on the way back, like so, can be very helpful. One more. Push, 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 push. Excellent. All right, so we're gonna plop down on the ground. You can get there any way that you like, whether it's graceful or not, doesn't matter. All right, so from here, you're just gonna plant your heels. We're gonna do some bridges. Palms are flat, you can have them up or down, doesn't matter to me. You wanna find a pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, so you're sort of closing the space between your rib cage and your pelvic bone. Find that tilt and then squeeze the tush. Come on up. You don't wanna overextend because we're throwing this movement into the low back now. So stop right where you feel the tush and the hamstring meet, and then you'll come back down. We're gonna go 20 of them. Last year, this space had a team and we ran in the Comer 5K, and it was so amazing to be with everybody, as most of these events are. This year it's a little bit not quite as amazing, but we don't have a choice. At least that's what I keep telling myself. So here we are, virtually again, as everything is every day, and we're making the best of it, because what else are we gonna do? I'm certainly not sitting on my butt watching you guys run. Let's call that 20. Since I was talking. All right, I always pull my knees in, shake out my low back just a little bit, and then I'm up. So there's another kind of stretch / strength exercise I like to do that involves the hips. And I'm gonna talk about them just a little bit. You're welcome to mute me if you're not interested. That's actually totally okay with me. But you're gonna cross that right ankle over the left knee. And from there, we're gonna crunch. So you're bringing lower body and upper body right up into the middle, just like this. Oh my gosh, I didn't start my Apple Watch, and everybody knows that if you don't record it, it obviously didn't happen. Okay, so we're gonna do 20 here and then we'll switch sides. In the meantime, running is incredible, it feels good. Many people love it. It's also unbelievably hard on your body. And most of us were not born for that kind of activity. We do it because we love it and because it makes us feel good, but our body takes sort of a tremendous beating as a result of it. So one of the ways that we kind of can combat that, I'm gonna switch now, is by strengthening and increasing the mobility and flexibility in our hips, or in specifically a muscle called your gluteus medius, which we will get to a little bit later. And the stronger those muscles are, or that particular muscle and the muscles that surround the tush and the hips, the stronger those are, the less weight your knees have to bear as a result of each step during a run. So if your knees don't have to work so hard and our muscles are firing in a more appropriate way, the longevity of your knees extends. And ultimately, that's really what we train for. All right, let's call that 20, I'm not totally sure. So we're gonna repeat our bridges. Again, we're going to 20, finding that posterior pelvic tilt, squeezing through the tush and the hamstrings. Hamstring is a huge group of muscles, and they're super important as we run in each step. So continuing to keep them strong and loose is also important. If you start to feel this in your low back at all, just decrease your range of motion. All right, let's cross that right leg, right ankle over the left knee, hands behind the head, and we're crunching. Another good tip here is, if you don't essentially try to rip your head out of your neck this way, then the movement is put into your belly and not into your head or your neck. So I never lace my fingers up behind my head, because not lacing them does not allow me to rest or to pull on my head so much. So I just keep my fingers nice and loose behind my head. guys keep going. I'm gonna make sure I actually press record on this because God forbid I should do anything extra. Okay, we're good, we're good. All right, so let's say that's 20. We're gonna put ourselves into this bridge position, so squeeze the tush and the glutes. And then from here, I want you to rock back and forth from your heels to the balls of your feet. So the muscles and the tissue that surround the ankle joint are super important when we're striking the floor and pushing off in a run or in each stride. And the proprioception, or the balance in your joints, is incredibly important, especially in those ankles. This is one exercise that can be very good for that, and most of you will probably feel that all the way down through here in the front of your shin. And when we get to 20, we're going to relax, pull those knees in, sit on up. All right, so we're going to come down into what's called quadruped. That's hands and knees. First exercise is a fire hydrant, but I'm going to give you a progression to this exercise if you kind of like to turn things up a bit. So a fire hydrant is essentially just this extension through the hip. And the idea is you want to try to not lean away from the movement, but rather lean into the movement so both arms are completely straight. Now, if you want to progress this, you can lift both knees up off the floor about 2 inches, and then you can extend from here. So let's say we've done 20 on each side, or on the left side, then we would change to the right. So you can either keep that left knee on the floor and extend the right there. Notice my arms are completely straight. I'm not leaning away from the movement. And if I want to turn it up a bit, I can pull my knees about 2 inches off the ground and repeat the exercise from there. All right, so let's say that's 20. We're going to flip back over. Squeeze the tush and the hamstrings, find that posterior pelvic tilt, and we're going to rock heels to balls of the feet. I so totally wish we could be together in the same location during this run, but we can't. And that's okay, because we're here. This also is great because you can use this kind of thing and all the other workouts from the other instructors, of course, anytime, essentially. It's just a good arsenal that we've created. All right, let's call that 20. We're going to flip on over again. We've got our quadruped position. And this time, we're going to flex both the knee and the foot on one leg. So in this case, I have my left leg up. And I'm going to sort of push my heel up towards the ceiling. We're not pushing backwards. We're pushing straight up. Straight up towards the ceiling. Again, both arms are straight. Lean, your center of gravity should be right over the middle. And again, if you want to turn this up a little bit, you're welcome to come up off that other knee. So let's call that 20. And then we'll go the other side. If this is a lot on your wrists, you're welcome to come to your forearms. It does become a slightly different movement, but not by much that it makes a difference, or not by enough that it makes a difference. You also can do this from your fists. Some people prefer that, or you can put a weight, a dumbbell, underneath your hands and hold on like that. Some people like that. You're really trying to fire up the glute and the hamstring on the mobile leg here. All right, let's call it 20. All right, then we're going to do one more set of these, the bridge position, find the pelvic tilt, and then we're going to go heel to balls of the feet. You're just rocking back and forth. Your range of motion might decrease as you get tired. That's completely normal and, in fact, totally reasonable. got 20 of them. Let's say that's 20. And then this final movement here, I'm going to show you from the front angle so that you can see what my knees are doing. And then I'll turn to the side and give you another angle there. So from here, we actually are going to pull the knees up off the ground. If this is not something you're comfortable with, you could just go back to these fire hydrants, and in this case, you would alternate. But if you want to try this one, you're going to come up off the knees, and you're just going to externally rotate, or I guess you're internally rotating the hips here. You're externally rotating your feet, really. You're just pushing your knees out. Your feet don't move. I mean, your toes will kind of move a little bit on the floor, that's fine. But the knees are just going out and coming right back to neutral. You're gonna do 20 of them. Again, if you don't like that, if it feels like too much, we'll just fire hydrant again. And from this angle, it looks like this. So the knees are just opening and closing like a little butterfly. All right, so we're up. Go ahead and shake out just a little bit. We got a little bit of strength we're gonna do here. If you like using dumbbells, use them, okay? If I had my dumbbells here with me, well I do, but for the sake of this, I would be using 15s in each hand, anywhere between 15s and 25s. It's completely unnecessary. If you have 10s, if you like those, that's great. If you're used to lunging, great. Anywhere between 8s and, 15s on each side, fine. If you don't like using your dumbbells, don't use them, okay? If you have any knee pain, this is not a good exercise for you, at least not without really good instruction, up close. So we're just gonna do a step back lunge. I like to touch my knee to the floor, but that's because I have a range of motion to do it. There are some exercises that I wouldn't be able to do so completely, in which case I don't really do them. So in a lunge, if you notice, my body is pitched forward a little bit. It's because there should be basically a straight line between my shoulders, my hip, and my knee in the back there. And I can't create that if I lean, because there's a forward angle here between hip and knee, and if I lean back, I'm taking away that straight line that happens here. So I assume you will have kept going. The idea here is 10 per side. And let's call that 10. We're gonna squat, and at the top of the movement, we're gonna come up onto tippy toes. So it's just a calf raise or a heel raise. If you wanna turn it into a jump, be my guest. I'll show that over the course of the 15, but it's not necessary. I do kind of want you to come up onto those tippy toes though. Sit your tush back, push those knees out, and come up, squeezing the tush on the way up. A jump would just look like this. Okay? I'm gonna show you from the side. A lot of people tend to overextend through those hips. This is not the position we want, because now our low back is firing here. At least not in the right way. So we just stand up, squeezing through the knees and through the hips. Once you get to 15 here, I want you to come down onto your belly. And you're gonna have your arms here, okay? Your head is gonna be on the floor. If you need to roll up a mat or a towel underneath your head so your nose doesn't get squashed, that's totally fine. So you're gonna put your head on the floor. We're gonna pull our arms up into a W, and then we're gonna externally rotate the palms, which means they will be facing away from your ears. So we're here, squeeze, rotate, come back to neutral, and down. I'm gonna stop talking here just for a second so my voice isn't so muffled, and also so I'm not talking. Once you get to 10, I want you to exhale, take a nice deep breath, and then we're gonna stand up. I'm gonna do a second round of lunges. If this movement does not feel comfortable to you, another one you can do to kind of substitute is this. If you can find a chair, I'll use my fire table. you're gonna sit onto the chair and then stand up. So it's a little bit of an assisted squat. You would want the chair to be a little lower than, say, one's fire table. But in any event, this is what I got here for right now, so it's fine. If those lunges don't work for you, this one's perfect. So let's say we've got 8, 9, and 10. All right. So instead of the squats, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm just like to give you a little bit of variation. Maybe some stuff you've seen obviously before, tried before, do all the time, and then maybe some stuff you haven't. So you're going to really elongate through the spine as though somebody kind of pulled you up towards the ceiling. Your hands should be either in front or level with your hips, but not behind. You can press those hands into the floor, drop the shoulders. You're going to lock out your knees, and you're going to raise one leg straight up. You're going to go to 20. Again, elongate. Pull straight up. It's 20. Other leg. You may notice that one leg seems to work better than another. Totally okay, and actually fairly normal. Generally means there's less mobility or flexibility in one. One can be a little stronger. Good. All right. I'm gonna flip back over. Now we're gonna come, we're gonna lift the torso in this movement, and we're not gonna externally rotate the palms. So it's sort of like a half of a superwoman. So we're here. And I really want you to focus on the squeeze through the shoulder blades, kind of like you're creating a crease right down your spine between your shoulder blades. We're gonna go to 10. This helps with those muscles underneath your shoulder blade, which help with shoulder stability. Super important. Shoulder injuries are the most common kind of injuries because the shoulder joint is innately pretty weak. All right, so we got one last round here. If you want to increase this guy or turn up the heat a little bit, you can turn it into a lunge jump. You can modify by jumping together and apart, or you can go back here, or you can go back to your steps. Whichever you prefer is okay by me, as long as there's no pain. All right, let's say that's 10 on each side. So instead of those squats again, we're gonna sit and we're gonna do a slightly different version of that exercise we did earlier, or just before. So again, you're gonna elongate, you're gonna turn your toes out, and then from there, lock out those knees and raise up. So we're hitting sort of the medial part of the quad, or the part of the quad that's towards the midline of your body, as opposed to laterally. This actually can be fairly diagnostic too, because it'll let you know if one of your IT bands is tighter than the other. We all talk about the IT bands. Most people don't want to treat them because it's too painful. And it's too painful because we don't treat them. That's what the foam roller is for. You know, that one that sits under your bed that you like absolutely refuse to take out despite the fact that every trainer in the world has told you to use it. Yeah, that one, you should pull that out and use it. All right. So, diagnostically, my left hip is historically much tighter than my right. And if you can see, my right foot, when I turn it out, goes out further than my left. It's not by a whole lot, but it's not like I got a lot of range of motion in the first place. Just structurally, that's not how your body works. So any difference here is quite significant. So when I roll my left IT band, it hurts much more than when I roll my right. Don't get me wrong, it's awful no matter what. But my left hurts more than my right. The more that I do it, the less tight my left gets and the more even my feet get. But I too have been a little bit lax on the stretching and the rolling in the last couple of months. Though I will tell you, I made a commitment about a week ago to do better, and I've gotten on it every single night before bed. So maybe you'll hop on the roller bandwagon with me. All right, so back down. We're gonna repeat this guy one more version, and then we're gonna just do a little stretching and call it. So you're gonna start with your head down. We're gonna raise up. Once we're here, we're gonna shoot those arms forward. I use the term loosely because we're not driving them forward, we're slowly pressing them. The idea is to keep your biceps and your ears in line, so your head should not be higher than your arms. Then you'll pull them back, squeezing, and you'll drop down. We're gonna do 10. Up, press out, pull in, come down. If the track that you find when you press your arms forward gives you pain, find another track, as in push them wide. You can turn your palms in. Sometimes that helps depending on what the issue is. But you just don't want pain. It ain't worth it. All right, let's call that 10. Okay. Now I didn't bring my roller out because we're not focused on it. But I want you to, we're gonna work the IT band just a little bit, or we're at least gonna try to loosen it up without the roller, okay? This is more of an active stretch. So you're gonna turn your toes in, you're gonna lock out your knees, and you're gonna slowly roll down towards your toes. You will feel this differently than if your toes were pointed forward. You will feel this sort of laterally as opposed to strictly behind the leg. And you're gonna roll up, shake out your feet, stretch them out, and then put your hips on your posterior pelvis. So right like on your hip bones or your pelvic bones in the back there, and you're gonna lean. You can let your head go if you like. And then we're gonna turn those toes in again, lock out the knees, and roll down. See if you can get a little bit further this time. And then roll on up nice and easy. Open up those feet, hands on the pelvis, lean back a bit. Shake them out. We're gonna go quad stretch. A couple of things you wanna think about here. Last stretch we're gonna do. If you can do this standing on one foot, great. You do not need to though. You can totally put your hands on something for balance. This is not a balance exercise. This is a stretch exercise. So from here, if you can close the gap between your knees, you want to do that. To continue the stretch a little bit further, find that posterior pelvic tilt. That'll elongate that quad, increasing the stretch, and then you can squeeze your butt cheeks together. And that should give you a much greater sense of the stretch. All right, shake it out, go the other side. So just kind of sit into that stretch a little bit. Close the gap between the knees. Find that posterior pelvic tilt. Again, that will really increase the stretch. And then if you can from there, squeeze your tush. And again, that'll give you even more of that quad stretch that we're looking for. So, thanks for doing this, guys. It's awesome. I got a lot of friends over there at UFC, and I think this is an incredible mission. I think what we do every year here is pretty spectacular, and the fact that you're willing to do it virtually is a pretty big deal, and I hope you can recognize that, give yourself credit for it, and I hope you can find some joy in it this year, despite the fact that we're not all together. Just knowing that we are all together, we're just not physically in the same place. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for having me, and I'll see you at the race at any point in October, since that's when we get to do this.